town of Pacolet is applying for a CDBG grant for some stormwater work. And so as part of that application process, there's a required public hearing. Just for people's general information, the town of Pacolet is a non-entitlement community, so that means they have to make an application for funds. They don't automatically receive funds from the CDBG program. In South Carolina, that is administered through the State Department of Commerce. In any given year, there's usually $3 to $4 million worth of funding that's available to communities statewide. That funding can be used for a variety of community development needs, including infrastructure, public safety, neighborhood and downtown revitalization, public facilities, and in some cases, economic development and housing. Again, Pacolet is considering submitting an application. This needs assessment supports that application by giving residents a chance to express what they think the community's needs are. So think of it as a more general needs assessment, not specific to what the exact grant application is that they're applying for. The application would be submitted in September with the decision made in January. The project would be typically expected to start for a non-construction project roughly 6 months from the date that the grant is awarded. It is a matching grant. It's 80-20, so the community would usually be required to provide 20% of the cost of the project. Again, the proposed survey is a stormwater system. The proposed project is a stormwater system survey, so mapping of the system, trying to detail what problems that may exist in the system so that other projects in the future can be done to help repair the system and upgrade it for the future. Any questions about that and sort of the general part about the community development block grant? Okay. And so there's basically a number of questions that they'd like us to ask. And these can be either council can answer as well as community members that are here. Anybody has anything, just grab my attention. I'm sorry if you're behind me. But so just sort of generally, what do you like about living in Pacolet? What are some of the good things about the community that make it a good place to live?
Are you asking?
Yes. What are some of the good things? Why do you like to live here? Why do you live here?
It's still a small town.
Small town.
It's easy access to other counties, 15 minutes basically away from everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's in a good little hub area.
Yeah.
You go out Invocation.
Ms. McBeth, what did you say earlier?
I said, people are praying.
People separate.
I like this historic feel of the town.
A lot of opportunities we can have. We don't, we need to develop. We have opportunities here.
And the river. So in terms of the river, the recreational opportunities, those sorts of things.
Fishing.
Town is still relatively short.
It's local to the state park. Family activities. Horseback riding.
Along with what Jason had to say, about the historic, we have a theater that we need to develop, into something. We have the river, and we have an amphitheater. It would be nice to, upgrade, future.
So the amphitheater would be an opportunity for improvement.
We also basically have our own personal, like, renewable energy source that's unique for a small town, the hydroelectric.
Is that pretty much how the whole town gets it, is from that, or that's just a portion of?
Well,
Just mental health.
not half of it, I guess, something like that. Maybe half.
Usually backup bills, I believe.
Yeah,
And
that's-
some of the surrounding,
I'm sorry.
All of the power in town is used from water.
Yeah. The power is.
Rod River Electric, Lockhart,
Lockhart,
Duke.
they're just water.
renewable source that you talk about renewables.
I was talking specifically about electric.
I'm sorry?
I was talking about power
Yeah,
in that instance, but what is it that you're adding to that?
that's what I was talking about, and I don't know what, you were talking about the
Yeah,
same thing.
I was referring to
Yeah, he had about half, he asked was part, would we, the whole town get it, or just partial, and I said partial because it's, it's not full town getting it.
Anybody? You look behind me, I don't want to make sure I don't leave anybody out, so. Yep.
I was going to build on the fact that the historic nature of it, a lot of the houses are already on the National Historic Register, so it gives citizens the opportunity to use the tax benefits if they do renovations.
Is there a local historic district, like with a board, you don't have like a board of architectural review with a local historic district, anything like that, right?
We have something established, there's no board. There's some guidelines put in place, there's no board to enforce.
We also have the, we started, all schools, middle school school,
Maybe really cool, I think.
What's the name of that school?
Mary Stephen.
And have, the kind of, I don't know what they call it, community center, or what they, back on Maysville.
The Family Resource Center for Urban Childhood Development.
I guess that would go along with TWLers, maybe writing classes and all activities and stuff for the kids. And so-
That's like the old elementary school, that was, that,
Middle school.
the middle school. That converted.
And right now, we have our fire department, not town, back they're here. That's a good addition, and,
All right, let me move on to, of course, the flip side of that question is, what do you dislike about Pacolet, or what do you think needs to be improved? Or that you would like to see improved?
I would like to see some sidewalks improved with the ones we have cleaned up and developed nice place along the center. And, I like to see some growth, maybe a bank or credit union or something of that nature.
I'd like better state and county road maintenance. You could, work on some of the blight, for sure. Whether that's developing it or demolishing it. Hopefully developing.
I think obviously our stormwater system is
Right, and that's what we're going to go into now is some sort of specific questions then. And so the first one of those would be, what are the challenges that face Pacolet? And the first item would be on infrastructure. So roads, water lines, sewer lines, stormwater, things like that that you would look at under infrastructure. So obviously stormwater issues. Of course, again, you're repeating it, but sidewalk and road maintenance, falls under that.
What about, instead of a stop sign, on Jerusalem?
Four-way stop?
Could it be a light, a red light instead of the stop signs? Because sometimes some people don't know when to go, when not to go. But if it's a red light, the people are directed.
And what intersection is that?
Jerusalem Road, 150.
Jerusalem 150.
Larger sewer development.
So tell me more about that. Is that, do you need more capacity, or do you need the system to grow to other areas? Is some of the town on sewer and some not on sewer, right?
Yeah.
Maybe make it less costly for people to adapt to the sewer system that's already there.
Extend the system. So basically reduce cost to connect onto it.
There's a lot of sewer lines within the town, but I think the issue is setting it up to where people can tap to it. I think when we talked about it last, it's like $5,000 a household minimum. That's the fees and connections, something of that sort. Then you got to pay the plumber, run the line, and disconnect the septic. So it would get costly. So the sewer is expanded through the town. The main lines are, and the pump stations are there, but there's no lines for people to tap to because they just didn't install there.
Who is the sewer provider here? Spartanburg Water. And the existing lines are okay in terms of their condition, it's just really that you need to expand it and.
We probably need to do a better job of advertising that we do have, sewer in some areas,
The sewer is there for, I think if there was to be large developments that come in or any commercial buildings that came in, the sewer systems are there for that and will support that. And the sewer systems run throughout pretty much all of the town. It's getting the smaller lines run up the middle of the street for houses to connect to them, things like that.
So to the main road, really, it's
That's
not
right.
extended out to neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a few businesses in town that don't have sewer, don't have the ability to hook up, the sewer's not there, which then limits what they can do with that property, what businesses can open. And they are on main roads, somehow they just got bypassed. And in the past, previous mayors, I think, broached the idea of expanding in those areas, but I guess it never materialized.
What about water lines? Are people happy with the water system, the availability, the quality of the water?
Some need to go in certain areas, have some problem with the water system.
So water quality issues in certain areas?
In my district, the lines are old. And the pressure is there, but the volume can be restricted. A lot of great people. Some of the lines are 50, 60 years old or older. So a lot of people around here really do have a lot of problems with water pressure and lines breaking. And Stormwater Water has attempted to fix a lot of those issues. They're changing from the meter to the house, all those ones. So.
And then in my area, a couple of people complain after heavy rain, their water is muddy or cloudy.
Same.
Infiltration.
Spartanburg Water have to come out and flush the lines.
In terms of sidewalks, are there certain particular areas where you see a need, where there's a lack of sidewalks for pedestrian activity, or is that more of a town-wide issue?
I think it's down line.
Needs some structure.
Mill Village has a lot of sidewalks, but that's really the ones that need repair.
Maintenance, right?
Dominic, that's on State Road too.
Yeah.
And some of the sidewalks are over, rainwater, too, so right under the sidewalk is where the rainwater.
The storm
Storm
system drainage
system,
on the
yeah.
other side,
Yeah,
in a lot of areas.
and it's in the Mill Village area.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you end up doing stormwater projects to fix those, you can fix two problems at the same time, hopefully in the future, but.
You probably have to if you want to fix the stormwater.
Right.
That's why the state doesn't do it.
All right, let's move on to housing. What are some of the issues that you see here with housing? That could be availability of housing, cost of housing, that could be the mix of housing. You'd like to see more apartments, you want to keep it single family. What are some of the issues that you see with the housing stock in town? Some of it's older. I know you get the Mill Village, which is a nice Mill Village, compared to a lot of places we go. We drove up there, but what are some of the issues that you see with the housing stock in town?
My concern, I'm sorry, go ahead. My concern with housing is that if we don't provide for some medium density, we're gonna end up with a lot of sprawl, and a lot of our rural areas, farmland or similar type agriculture might get bulldozed for what they're doing in surrounding areas. So if we can kind of get our volume with people that want to be in the commercial district or the center of town, get some volume there, so that we don't run into just I think the go-to method is to just plant 100 houses outside town and then plant another 100 outside of those until we just get into this. Now, granted, that would be outside of current town limits if that happened, because I don't know if we have a lot of areas inside town limits, but if we were to expand or annex in areas, I think we need to have a serious conversation about medium density in area, and that's not going to be popular probably in the town because we like our small town feel. But if we can show people that it actually saves our rural area and our open space by maybe having 2 or 3 stories in the commercial area for people that want to live in that type of situation, then we don't have to bulldoze 100 acres at a time. That's a problem I see going forward, and it may be 10 years down the road or 5.
Would you say generally that the housing stock is in pretty good repair, or I know you said something about slum and blight earlier, but is that more the norm, or is it more, a small scale issue, the blight issues?
In my opinion, we probably have a little bit more than nearby comparable towns. I don't know if it's really like it's probably a matter of opinion. We probably have a little bit more blight and rundown residences than nearby towns. But a lot of those might be historic homes that are worth saving. My first reaction would be to just start demoing buildings, but if we can somehow promote renovation, especially of like Millville homes and historic homes.
What about things like apartments? Is that something that the community is open to? Do you have many now? Is that's something that you'd like to see, that goes sort of to reduce the sprawl and, you know, up the density a little
We
bit.
just had a new complex built within the past few years, kind of near the main center of the town.
But it's kind of small,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
you know.
I think it's comparable to what we already got there as far as size.
Up when we,
It needs an update.
yeah.
So if somebody came to the town and said, we want to build a 100-unit apartment complex, what would their reaction be, do you think?
Well, the knee-jerk
Depending on
reaction
exactly
was-
where it is, but.
What the ones that were just built, the knee-jerk was, well, it's gonna be Section 8 government, but it wasn't, I mean, it was, what, that Affordable Housing Act, or, I mean, there's stipulations, you can't just move in and.
Yeah.
I think if we worked on location, it would be, easier to ballot for the locals. If it was walkable to the commercial district, so we didn't have that sprawling, expanded parking, people driving to, you know, to get their groceries. If it was in that area where it was more walkable, I think it'd be easier to get people interested in that.
My perspective on the situation is medium density and high density housing is a good idea. Down the road when there's more to do and there's more to offer. Right now, the list of offerings that the town has, medium and high density housing will create more of I think it would create more of a problem. I think crime would go up, but no sooner does the apartment complex get built over there, I think within the first week, it's over there every day. It's, to me, until there's more to offer, until there's, you know, more to do in the town, then I think the attraction wouldn't be, you know, worth it. I mean, I think single family homes and duplexes, that is the way to go for now. Keep it small, family oriented housing. Affordable, of course.
What have you seen in terms of housing? I mean, has there been subdivisions built in the town? I mean, within the town limits recently? Have you had any development like that in the town? Couple.
Yeah. Smaller development, yeah.
Yeah, that's about
20,000 houses in one, and about 15 or so in. I mean,
Basically, right from your house, they're building like crazy.
yeah.
Never on Briarwood.
Yeah, about the one I was thinking was probably about 15 or so in there.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything about housing that they want to ask? Yes.
One of the things I noticed, a lot of the code enforcement issues have been with like rental houses. And one of the processes of getting code enforcement is making sure they can contact the owners. So Woodruff and Newberry that have a rental registry program where every year the people that are renting houses, they give their contact information because part of the problem with code enforcement is contacting owners.
It is.
So if we can improve the area, that would be, more people would be more likely to move to this area.
We'll move on to the next section, which is public facilities. So that would be like this building, it's public works complex, parks and recreation facilities that you would have. What are some of the issues that you have in those areas?
Not being used. What we have.
Like
I mean,
parks, you mean parks
Baseball
or
fields. It could be utilized a lot more.
I like to see some trails, and always for the seniors.
a walking trail or a walking track?
We have one
here on, St. Acres, right across the 2 baseball fields, where they put the big parking lot. There's a traffic just kind of walks around the basketball court there. The One Spartanburg County.
Yeah, so I have to run
At the middle school.
on the bridge on Oak Tower.
Yes, and just right across from the baseball field where they have that extra parking. You know, they've got a little walkway that just walks all the way around the walks all the way around the basketball court.
Yeah, on the left as you're going out there.
Yeah.
No, I was speaking of the one that we already got hooked up from
Yeah.
the big resource center, behind the resource center.
He wants to extend.
Make it more,
This is one.
you know, because it's road for our.
Yeah, unless you know it's there. I said, unless you know it's there, you're not
It
gonna
is
see it.
maintaining.
Yeah.
We walk a pretty good bit, me and the girls, our little gym people, we walk a pretty good bit, and it needs some maintenance. Yeah.
So I know you've got the little park over here with the fishing docks and the kayak outlet. Are those things used at all?
Yeah.
A lot.
Forget the name, that's a kayak company, she does.
So you can pull out of the water on the north side of the dam. Can you go back in someplace on the south side? Is there
Down
any-
here, and down the back there, we got another dam down here.
Okay,
Yeah, go down there.
okay, I haven't seen that yet.
That's pretty steep, probably need to do something there, because I don't know if anybody can, unless they were a superhuman almost, launch a boat down there.
Yeah. So that needs improvement, but do you think that's something that is a worthwhile project that you'd like to see?
Yeah.
I know I'll pull out here, I'd like to take mine and walk down here and put in.
Highway 18.
I know you have to have better access.
Yeah, but when you get down there and it's
Straight
straight
down.
down.
So other public facilities like City Town Hall here, what do you have in terms of public works? I know you do garbage, so you have a place for that. Are those facilities adequate?
The town has a few buildings we haven't quite figured out what we want to do with that have a lot of potential, or maybe they're better off in private hands, I don't know, but we've got at least 2 that come to mind that are basically unused. We also have the history committee trying to figure out what we want to do as far as updating or revamping basically the whole basement of this building where our current museum is, and then there's a large storage area that needs to be gone through and either expand the museum into that or make it more usable. One of those other buildings is a historic school, and then we have basically like a storage building by the police department that's basically just cluttered.
Is the tree still laying on top of it?
No. No, we had a tree off of it and, the tarp on it. I'll tell you later in the meeting.
There's also
Got a guy in
the
there.
building where our sanitation department kind of steps up at. Has been kind of a dumping spot for various things. We probably could benefit. Part of the building is rented out and it's not well cordoned off. So that could definitely be streamlined.
Well, we own the DWA Center, in the Park and Rec, they run it, but we own the building, but they run it, and they do a good job of that.
All right. Sorry. All right, let's move on to public safety. So, police, fire, ambulance, service, any issues or thoughts on any of those areas? So, it's town police force. And then it's county fire department, basically, that will cover this area.
Well, yeah, I don't know how long they're gonna be, okay. So, my thought was they at one time was gonna combine districts, and we were gonna buying somebody else, but,
I think that's kind of fading away.
you know. But,
Is the service adequate for the fire?
or the police protection, we have a full police protection now, we have full, group of them there.
We've been discussing maybe upgrades to the police department. They're a little bit crammed in the building, and then they share it with the court. And we've gone back and forth for a little while about how to maybe accommodate both better, whether moving one or just rework the building. But that conversation
Are
was.
they in this building or are they in another location?
Another location.
Yeah.
They're in the old fire department.
We have, we have like one EMS, is that what you're talking about?
Medi 15.
Yeah.
Is that service adequate? I mean, you get complaints about it, is it?
Well, I think right now they suffer with manpower like everybody else, but no, I haven't heard complaints personally.
So the next item will deal with economic development and obstacles to competitiveness. So, what kinds of economic development have you been seeing? What kinds would you like? Are there obstacles to that? Location, zoning, cost to get on sewer, things like that? What good things are you seeing in terms of economic development and what could be improved?
We do have a new business coming in, the old Family Dollar store. Yes.
No, it's just, he just,
Let's go.
keeping it to receiving things
Oh,
like,
really? Then,
It's the old Dollar General.
old dollar
the
general.
Family Dollar, yeah, the old Family Dollar.
No, the Family Dollar, he just ships it to the city, so he, like,
Storage, basically.
So we're not getting them to be on
now the Dollar General we are,
Oh, he's gonna be moving there.
The former location at the intersection of Sunset or Hill Road.
No.
Yeah, well, I thought it was the old Family Dollar store. They were coming.
No, that's the Dollar General.
Dollar General.
So there's a new business going in there?
And then we still have an empty store beside Walgreens, that place has been empty for
Yeah, they were
almost
empty
20
for
years.
over
Long as I've been here. There's no, I don't even know who owns it, but, you know, we need to put a business in there.
I would love to see the town develop a business incubator program for small businesses. Whether the town uses one of these buildings that we haven't, found a use for yet to promote small mom and pop type businesses, get them started. Either, other towns have done this successfully that have tried like I know it's kind of a bad word, but urbanism style of incubating with reduced rent for a limited amount of time to see if their business plan is viable and kind of launching them, and then and also following up, finding them a permanent unit. But if we can promote, small local shopkeepers and put them into strategic locations, so we have like a bustling, walkable shopping area, boutiques and small local type shops. And if the town can get involved, like actively, like we want to help you, we're going to back you up. I think we find that you really see the entrepreneurial spirit in the town kind of thrive, because it is there. It's kind of suppressed right now, I feel.
In the commercial areas that you do have, are the buildings full? There are a lot of vacancies, and
Yeah, there's been a vacancy
So the question was, in the commercial area we do we have more vacant buildings or more buildings that are full?
Occupied.
Like,
More occupied.
there's only a handful of buildings that are unoccupied. Yeah.
Just a few,
I think the bigger problem is that there's buildings there, but they're not really in use. A lot of them aren't ready to be used or rented. They're
So-
just.
Right, so that's the
To
condition.
go back to your
question.
last question, in terms of economic development, I think what's important is advertising and getting out there and hitting the streets and asking business to come its way and showing and publicizing that we have available buildings.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we need.
And available land, I mean, we have available land, maybe not in the town, but it could be, annexed into the town.
Property associated with that.
Yeah,
That has all the availabilities, power, sewer,
yeah.
water. That's what the town needs to work on. And, as far as grants and things like that, we would need help with that part of it.
Yeah, do you do any work at all with the chamber, One Spartanburg? Are they helpful?
Yes.
And so and I see this everywhere we go, but the problem is when you have vacant buildings that aren't being used, is that a lot of times they're not in good condition for somebody to just go in and start a business. They need to be renovated. Is that sort of the same issue here?
That's right. They're not set up for restaurants, but, a lot of them are just retail stores, so it limits the use because it was only ever set up for retail. They don't have grease traps, they don't have hood things. A lot of these buildings are just retail only.
All convenience store.
Yeah.
So are there any other obstacles that you would say to business coming here? I mean, there's the cost of connecting to sewer, are there zoning issues that limit business activity, or what do you hear from people who look here and then ultimately don't start a business here?
I think that the limited amount of traffic through the town affects, commercial growth. 176 being on the outside of town really limited the amount of traffic going through the town, of course, and then it also limited how much money was spent in this town. Now the town is basically used for truck traffic through and out, and people going to work. Excuse me. That's right.
So the next question deals with workforce development. So do you have a base of people here who are ready to work, who can hold jobs, who can be trained for jobs? These are like Spartanburg Tech, do they work with the community to do job training, anything like that?
The Benjamin Mays is, they're going to start some of the job training, job skilling classes.
Who is that?
The old middle school.
Okay.
Benjamin Mays.
They'll do GEDs and stuff too.
Yeah, they're gonna do a lot of that stuff. They're gonna start some of the skill classes.
Yeah.
All right, so we touched upon this just a little bit already, but neighborhood rehabilitation is one of the questions that they ask. We talked about the condition of the housing. Some places do programs where they'll go in and they'll remove housing that is blighted and can't be fixed. Other places will purchase lots and sell them back to developers to build affordable housing on. What kind of do you have any kind of programs like that that are in effect now? And if there are any that you'd like to see? So,
We used to, but we don't have that program anymore.
okay.
and some of these people that do own these homes, or you just can't get in touch with them.
So on the code enforcement end, And that's a problem everywhere. I mean, other places I've worked, that was the biggest problem. Somebody inherited it from their grandmother, but they live 4 states away, and you just can't get a hold of them. And so,
Our code enforcement is, what, a year and a half old, so it's kind of building as we go.
The code enforcement has come and gone in this town several times.
Yeah. Right now, it's sustained a little longer than,
Yeah. We're making the right steps in the right direction. Just gonna take a little while. Get it a little bit better. I think it helped if we all start running our state senators. The laws are a little bit too strict.
the code enforcement, property maintenance, the property maintenance code and all that. Is your police department enforcing that? Who does that enforcement?
Oh, we have a contractor in our police department also assists.
All right, and then downtown revitalization. So we talked about, a good bit with that already. I know, not a traditional downtown where you see, all the buildings connected right on the street. It's a little more scattered and spread out. What are your thoughts on that? Would you like to see a more traditional downtown where you have that sort of look with the commercial buildings right on the road and lined up together? Or
I think everybody in this building would love to see that. The feasibility of that is not far gone there. Already started to
You'd have to get really creative to try to recreate that. But as far as organically like promoting actual historic buildings, you'd be very limited with just the location where they're at in relation to train tracks and roads. But you could maybe get that feel with a kind of a creative approach. It would be difficult though.
what about things like a facade grant program?
That's what I was thinking about too, they have facade grants, in the other towns, pick up the facade and all. Maybe not the whole inside, but the facade would be a lot more presentable and things to the public.
Right, I mean, that's something that you need, like, for example, in Anderson, where I used to work, in the downtown area, I forget, it wasn't like a 50% match, I don't think, but they would pay a portion of, if you repainted the facade of the building. A later iteration of that, they did something with signage as well, where they would help you upgrade the signage. And after a while, that was also in a historic district, so you had other guidelines that went into place. Was that something that you'd be interested in?
Even just recently, and it may have lapsed by now, but last year, the year before, we had a flat number, and I think it was 10 grand, which is not much, but I think it really helped their historic downtown.
Who did that?
Inman.
Okay.
Their historic downtown turned around real fast, and I'm not saying it's entirely because of that, but that was the first place I saw or heard of that did that. I was kind of fascinated by it.
They used to, getting back to way back to the first, you kind of joggle my memory there, but grants to, we used to have grants to fix up older housing and things like that. I mean, yeah, I know that some villages, I know, I work in Columbia and Charleston and things like that, they had grants that they could, you go in and redo older housing and things like that. I offer a program to do that.
There are, so for example, you can use CDBG money for some things like that, some neighborhood and downtown revitalization. You'd have to have a specific grant proposal for that. There are, like, the home program is a different program that some communities use. I don't know all the rules on that, so I don't know who's eligible, but that's certainly something our grants people could help, communities look at and see what's available. So they do a lot of different grants, programs that are out there. So, that's something that's, as we go through this, as we go through the comprehensive plan process, then those are things that we can put in that other document that you can look at down the line too, so.
Buildings that need to be torn down, it's most falling down right now. It's type grants for that.
So, I don't know if there's specifically for that. I know in Anderson, we had some local dollars that we used to do that. You had to get them, probably get them to contact, you had to get contact with the owner of the property, and we would, help with that cost of, removing the building and having it hauled off. So we used some local dollars for that there may have been some of that, may have been CDBG money as well. So I think you just have to look and piece together, different pots of money to see, what each one would allow you to do. But that's not my specific area, so I know there's ways to do it, and we can help you try to find what those are. So. All right, so the last thing I want to do is just sort of, we talked about these different areas, sort of what are the top 3 issues of those. So infrastructure, housing, public facilities, public safety, neighborhood revitalization, downtown revitalization. What would you say your top 3 of those would be in terms of priority for the town to move to work on?
I think infrastructure issue would be good to start.
Can you guys do that list one more time?
So infrastructure, housing, public facilities, public safety, economic development, workforce development, neighborhood rehabilitation, and downtown revitalization.
Economic development.
Yeah, top 3 would be economic development, neighborhood revitalization, for me anyways, and downtown revitalization.
I think the infrastructure.
That's number 1.
Yeah.
Good answer.
That's a good answer.
That would include storm drains, right?
It does.
Right.
Sidewalks,
This is-
Okay.
All right, we will use that as our top, we'll say top 4 items, with infrastructure being the top item. And so there's also been a survey that's been out there that people have been filling out. I think at last count there were 35 people who had filled out the survey form. So what I will do is I'll combine this feedback from tonight with the survey results. And what I do is I write up the public input section of the grants and send it to the grant people so they can include it with their information. We'll send Patrick a copy of that as well, so he has that. This will also go towards the comprehensive plan. We'll compile that as an ongoing part of the public comments that we're hearing as we start to work through that process. And so it's just another way to get additional feedback and comments from people. So the more we can get, the better. And so with that, that's really all I have for the CDBG public hearing. I did want to mention the one thing with the comprehensive plan, that probably on Monday, the survey for the comprehensive plan, public input will go live. There'll be a listing on the Plan Pacolet webpage that's been created for that process. There can also be a link just from the general town homepage. And then I have sort of a one-page sheet that doesn't look exactly like this, but look a little bit like this, which will have the link. There's a QR code, so people can just take a picture of it with their phone and it'll take you to the survey. So there's multiple ways for, you can send it out on your, any kind of email listing, on a Facebook page. You can put links in there to sort of disseminate that as widely as possible so we can start getting input from that. I wanted to wait until after this meeting so we didn't confuse people with the two surveys. This is a separate survey. I'm sure there's a little bit of overlap in some of the questions that'll be on there, but this is a separate survey. So if people have already filled out the one for the CDBG grants, we would like them to fill out this additional one as well, because it is more tailored towards the comprehensive plan process. That'll be the first part of the public input that we do, and I tentatively have that slated to run from Monday through basically the end of September. And then we'll be compiling our information, the land use mapping, the sort of the data gathering. We're getting ready to gear up for all that, so we'll start that process moving. So, y'all have any questions for me about either the CDBG grants or anything that we're doing moving forward with the comprehensive plan?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if we're also pursuing some kind of rural infrastructure authority grant for that stormwater stuff too, that Arlene was working on as well.
Okay. I don't think we have to do, I don't think I'm involved in anything with that grant. We just have to do the public input for the CDBG grant, but we're not typically involved with the rural infrastructure grant, so. But that's good, where you can piece together different pots of money to help pay for that, so. So, if there's nothing else, then thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The three of those hot topics on there was infrastructure, economic development, I would like.
Infrastructure, economic development, downtown revitalization, and neighborhood revitalization. So, with infrastructure being number one.
If we do this again, I'd like to list the questions ahead of time.
Okay.
That would reflect on it.
Would you,
We weren't even aware that.
Would you guys also-
going to happen? We thought we were going to listen to the survey results. We had no idea that there was going to be questions.
so the same questions that he was asking tonight are the survey questions that are on, it's on
The one that's coming up on.
no.
Oh, the survey that we already put.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So,
Tonight was mainly an opportunity, if I can correct me if I'm wrong, this is for the public and community who's not necessarily on Facebook, who's not on the internet, who's gonna come in and talk, since y'all.
I just meant, maybe we can know that ahead of time.
sure. So the way I typically do it is we do this, and then we compile this with the survey results to be a one product, and you get all of it together, so.
Call meeting to order. Glad to see you today. This meeting was treated by fact of the Spartanburg Herald Journal, posted on both board of lobby at Town Hall and on the town's website. We'll now have invocation.
Whatever you do, just speak in your God, and you about you and not by us. And all the text, Holsten, Allison, and yes, I can, and citizens of God. And people say, you know, these sections should be.
the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Back we have I'll say the presentation.
Before we go into that, it is up to y'all, but there is a representative who is here from One Spartanburg, Jay Jenkins. Originally, they were on the agenda. I had taken them off because I was told by One Spartanburg they were not able to be here, but they do have one here tonight. It is up to you if you'd like to amend the agenda and have them do the presentation. Otherwise, it could be tabled or can be brought to the next council meeting.
Okay, motion to amend.
You can still go ahead and you can go ahead and do the presentation here and then amend it to.
We'll go ahead and do this right here and then we'll need a second.
I second.
Motion made second to amend the agenda to allow One Spartanburg to have their presentation. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. We'll look it down after executive.
We're gonna do the last second presentation.
Yeah, we'll do that.
One part.
Okay. All right, Patrick.
All right, Council, if you don't mind, I'll stand up here, just from a use standpoint. Mr. Bell, stand up here with me. This is Mr. Holsten Bell. On June 7th this year, here in Pacolet, Holsten spent time with his grandfather. Holsten was 7 years old. Holsten noted that there was a medical emergency going on with his grandfather and took all the necessary steps to get the help there and essentially saved his grandfather's life. Because of that, because of his young age and his ability to work under pressure in such a stressful situation, it means so much. It meant a lot to us to recognize this and give him the accolades that he deserved. So we have a plaque here from the Pacolet Police Department that says, "Life-saving work presented to Holsten Bell. In recognition of your courage and quick thinking on June 7th, 2023, you responded to a true emergency, even at such a young age, and saved a life." For the Pacolet Police Department, presented August 3rd, 2023. So I want you to have that. This is from me. These are the medals and pins that police officers get to wear on their uniform if they do something like this. So if you ever get involved in Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, in the future, if you ever get involved in public safety in any way, police, fire, EMS, they're supposed to allow you to wear this on your uniform. And these are like medals of honor. Only people that really deserve these gifts. So from me to you, there you go. Thank you, sir.
We have One Spartanburg.
We have a presentation from One Spartanburg from Jay Jenkins.
Thank you, Council. It's hard to follow right there.
All right.
If I could ask the opportunity, please. Thank you for making that assumption so that I can speak to you. I bring you greetings from One Spartanburg, Inc., where our President Alan Smith is absent. So I want to come to you and talk to you about Power Spartanburg. Power Spartanburg is an initiative that started a few months ago to help small minority businesses. Spartanburg County Council gave One Spartanburg, Inc., $6.2 million to start a small minority business development. Help grow small businesses across the county of Spartanburg. This is not a city initiative. This is a county initiative. This is not a minority initiative. This is a small business to make sure that's clear. Every small business person in Spartanburg County can take part in this free. So if you want to go through it, you will look up, we have 7 initiatives that we have created to help spur, grow, and develop small businesses. The first one, we recently launched our loan and grant program, which out of $6.2 million that was given to us by the county from American Recovery Act funds. We took 2.8 million of that and put into our loan and grant program. So we have engaged 3 CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions, that have built a very good loan program for us. If there's a business in Pacolet, 0 to 2 years, I mean, there's someone with an idea to start a business, we have engaged a client fund. The client fund, we can lend up to, we will cover $50,000. They can go up to $250,000. The rates are 6% down to 3%. So this is awesome for anyone who has an idea or who has been in business less than 2 years or less. If you've been in business for 2 years or more, then we have engaged Carolina Panthers for the credit. Once again, you can get up to $50,000 with we recover, or you can get more at prime rate. Now the grant program is that we're offering grants to businesses. Now these grants that we're offering are impact grants. Okay, they're not to start a business, they're to help a business move forward. So to get a grant, you have to be in business at least 2 years. You have to have at least $25,000 in revenue. If you have from $25,000 to up to $150,000, you are eligible for a $5,000 grant. If you have $151,000 up to $3 million, you're eligible for a $10,000 grant. So these grants are when you don't have to repay. So we're doing this to help spur, build, and maintain small businesses across the county. Space. This is when we're trying to get small businesses to moving downtown. If we have a business that would like to move in downtown Pacolet, what we're looking to do is go into that space and pay the rent for that business owner for probably a year to 15 months. But the money that they would have been paying for the lease, the rent, they would have to take those funds and put it into a secure savings. Once we have satisfied our term of paying for that lease payment, then they can have access to those funds. This does 2 things. It's taken away the major obstacle for a business, which is a lease or rent payment, but it also gives them the ability to have a cushion once we finish. Thirdly, accelerators. We're looking to build accelerators across the county of Spartanburg. We have connected with Start Me. We would love to see Start Me Pacolet, where we help someone who wants to start a business or a business already in existence, help them grow and help them move forward. Subject matter experts. This is where I love this more than the funding part. We want to give small businesses an opportunity to learn, grow, and educate themselves by connecting them with another successful business. So it's basically business doing business with business, B2B. But they're securing contracts. When you talk about Spartanburg, anywhere across the state, you know Spartanburg is known for attracting huge initiatives. BMW, Oshkosh Defense, Keurig Dr. Pepper. What we're looking to do is look at small businesses in towns like Pacolet and connect them with these large other industries. If a small business can get a contract with a BMW or with Oshkosh Defense, that can be generational wealth building. So that's what we want to do. And it could be any company. It could be a company in landscaping. Model T is looking for landscapers. If we can link a company out of Pacolet with Model T to start cutting their grass, that's a major contract. So that's what we're looking to do is secure contracts. Business mentors. We just launched this pilot program of business mentors. We brought the program back from Holsten, from Cambridge, MIT. So it's a team mentoring approach. So what we like to do is we'll roll out a pilot where we have 13 mentees and 27 mentors. And we're educating these small businesses on how to grow. We will roll this out, upscale it in the next few months. But it's been very successful in helping these small businesses learn how to build their business. The next with the expert series, we're bringing in a successful business person or a politician to just talk about success of small businesses. And most of all, is community captains. Everything that we have here, if we don't have anyone to talk about it or to market this to Pacolet, Lantrum, Inman, and Woodruff, then we haven't done anything. So what we're looking to do is get a community captain in Pacolet, a person who can market One Spartanburg, but also bring us small businesses. And we will pay this person to do this. So we want to engage the businesses here in Pacolet. Like I said, this is a county-wide initiative. We want to grow small businesses here. We want to reach out to you. And also, when we talked about the subject matter experts, we will pay them to help these small businesses. They will have access to attorneys, accountants, some with human resources, marketing, and we will pay these experts for $50 per hour for 2 hours to counsel these businesses on any questions that they have. So this is a lot, but we're doing it, we're rolling it out, and we want Pacolet, the town of Pacolet, Mayor, we want you to know that we're here to help your small businesses. We want to connect with you. We hope that there's a community captain that you can recommend, and we would love to engage them. Like I said, we will also pay this person to be that community captain in this area. Thank you so much, Mayor. I apologize for not being appropriate. Thank you for giving out.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for this information. I think we can probably post this on our website and probably get some interest going there too.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And these are flyers on the funding that's already been opened up, so anyone who wants to engage in the funding, they can just click on these and get information. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes of June 29th, 2023.
Motion to approve the minutes of June 29th, 2023.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of June 29th, 2023. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any approved minutes of July 13th, 2023.
July 13th, 2023.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of July 13th, 2023. All in favor? All opposed? We'll go to the executive session regarding personnel.
Make a motion to go to executive session regarding personnel.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to go into executive session regarding personnel. All in favor? All opposed? We'll meet you back. Ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and call the meeting back to order.
Make a motion, council approves, personnel salary increase.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. You business, sir.
First item here is a consideration of appointments to the Comprehensive Plan, Master Plan Steering Committee. The last meeting was a joint session between Planning Commission and Council, and there's a need to create a steering committee to be able to direct the efforts of the planning of the Comprehensive Plan and Master Plan. I have blanks on here for approximately 14 people. I didn't think you were going to take 14 people, but I put it on there just in case. It may want to only have 10 or 8. And then below that are people on the list who have expressed interest in being involved in the process and involved in the committee itself. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 people that are on there are on the planning commission. I sent an email out to the planning commission, those 4 members responded back really quickly and said they would like to be considered on the steering committee.
Do you need any, council members or?
I would recommend that there are some council members on there, some planning commission members. Those last 4 members are people who don't live in the town, but I think it'd be worthwhile to have on here, or at least a consideration. Of course, you know Mr. Montgomery on here, but Jennifer with Pacolet Milliken, Brian Stone is with Lockhart Power, and then Paul Wiles, you're all familiar with. He has to be a part of the steering committee. Now, it's up to y'all who's on that group.
Well, I'd like to be on the mayor, sure.
I told you last meeting that I would like to be on this.
What number are we looking for?
That's up to y'all. I mean, you could have it 14, 15, as many as you want. The only thing is, the larger that is, the harder it is to kind of wrangle up and get people.
But we have to be careful not to.
Right, or you don't want to have.
There's 3 of us right there, so.
So, no more.
Like to be on it as well.
So, Mr. Wright, Ned, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom, you there?
Yeah. Yeah, more at that point.
That'd be 3 of us.
I said I would like to as well.
What?
I said I would like to.
So, you've got,
Oh, we can't have 4 on there?
Well, it'd be a quorum.
you could, except for the fact that every time we have a meeting, I have to declare it as a work session of council.
That'd be a kosher. Yeah, it'd be fine.
I think that's too much work on your Commissioner.
That'd be some slow process.
Didn't mean that negative.
Well, I appreciate that.
I just decline it.
You wanna be on it?
Well, yeah, I do, but that's,
Everything that will be on from the steering committee, we'll make sure the council's aware of minutes, anything that happens there on a regular basis. This will be just the group that's generally directing it.
Do what, I'm sorry.
So let's go see more.
Okay. Do you want to be on it? You want to be on it?
No.
Okay.
People? Okay.
Okay, and that's the reason, that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd rather not have a quorum at a steering committee meeting. I'd rather not have that. I think that's too much, and I think that would get a little bit out of hand.
Okay, so it's Mr. Wright, is the mayor, and Ms. Sexton. Is that correct?
It's up to the council, I'm just.
I mean, I'd still like to be on there.
Excuse me?
I'd still like to be on there.
Okay.
Okay, so he needs to really work something every time.
If council wants to vote and do something different, you let me know.
So you said you still gonna be on there, or did you say that you decline? I mean, I'm just asking.
You got Tom Henry's on there, right? What he has on.
The other option is to make it so there's an alternate. So like, for instance, it could be 3 people, and if one of the 3 people cannot be there, the alternate would show up. It may be another option of being able to do that. Ma'am?
She said she'll be the alternate.
Okay. You're willing to be the alternate on there? Okay. So the 3 are Mr. Wright, Mr. Canby, and Mr. Williams on there, and if any one of y'all are unable to attend, please let me know as soon as possible, and I'll let Ms. Sexton know that she will go in your place.
That might be a possibility to me, I don't know.
You may want to consider, so that's 11 members that's on there. If there's other people that you think in the community may be interested in being a part of this, please let me know. And I will say, because you'll probably know your schedules are tough, Mr. Montgomery, Ms. Calabria, Mr. Stone, and Mrs. Calabria will probably be hit and miss on times in there because those are all very busy people on there. I will have to check and see, there's 4 members of the planning commission. I'm not sure if that's the same as council, if that will have to be an issue in terms of, they'll have a quorum at that point. But it's not, I guess, I'm not sure if it's the same as council. We'll move on. Next section on here is a discussion regarding truck traffic in Pacolet. Mr. Wright had put a request out and sent that to me, added that to your packets here tonight. What Mr. Wright didn't know and wouldn't have known is that the day prior that I received this, the chief and I have already had conversations with an individual by the name of Brandon Wilson. He's the regional engineer for South Carolina Department of Transportation. The chief, and if he has anything to say, he's welcome to come up here, has already been having some major issues with truck traffic in town. We've probably all seen it either on Facebook or just seeing it around town, blocking the street. I know from the first time I got here that Sunny Acres Road was routinely blocked off where people could not drive up the hills correctly and block traffic off there. So we have reached out to Mr. Wilson from SCDOT and had evaluated some options on there. One option that we are looking at is, or I say one option we are suggesting to DOT is that one of the biggest issues is them coming down from Gaffney on 150 through town, turning left onto 9 and heading out to the Dollar General Distribution Center out there. What we're looking at is having them come down 150, turn left on 211, which takes them into Asbury, and then at Asbury it turns into Highway 18 and then goes into Jonesville. In Jonesville, they would turn onto Church Street, and that comes right up to 9, turn right on 9, and go right into the Dollar General Distribution Center. We drove that route. It is much better for truck traffic in terms of they don't have up and down hills. There's only, I believe, 1 stoplight that we saw throughout the whole area. There's a couple of stop signs, but there's very few stoplights in the whole area. There's not a lot of downshifting or upshifting and all that kind of stuff. And even talked to, I was at the Municipal Association conference and met with Michael Tyler, who is the town administrator from Jonesville. And they're actually planning to do a streetscape project in downtown Jonesville where they're going to restrict traffic on 9 from Church Street down to where 18 comes into 9. And so that would actually work with what we're proposing on there is that it would come down 18. Prior to hitting 9, they turn onto Church Street, which is what he's going to be declaring as a truck route. If you go straight across, you'll go eventually to 176. And so we're looking at that as option 1 on there. That gets it out of Pacolet altogether. Another option we're looking at is that when they're coming in through town, that the Montgomery Stone is no longer considered a truck route at all. And so it'll be truck restrictions, and we will be able to write tickets for anybody that goes up Stone Street in Montgomery, and they're required by our laws, as well as DOT, that they would have to go up Hotel Hill or Sunny Acres. And one thing we were even considering is not turning left onto Victor Park. One of the issues we run into is a lot of the truck traffic that are coming through town seem to not know how to drive a truck properly, and when they get to the top of the hill at Sunny Acres and Victor Park, they're not able to stop, turn left, and then start back up again and make that turn. And so we are looking at encouraging them to stay on Sunny Acres all the way out to East Main Street, and then eventually to 176. So that is one option that we're looking at. We drove through a lot of different things on there. What I would like to do is to see what Mr. Wilson comes back with us in terms of suggestions or next steps. And then I'll present that to you, and if you'd like, I can actually have Mr. Wilson come and do a presentation here at council to see what potentially the next steps are restricting truck traffic in town. I wanted the chief to have an opportunity to say anything if he'd like to, because he was there with that conversation that we had with Mr. Wilson.
You summarized it very well. The only thing I noted is that in our tour, taking Mr. Wilson around, he was actually determining the widths of the intersections, the angles that the trucks would have to take, and he agreed immediately. He's like, I do not understand why this was ever used for truck traffic. It is not appropriate for it. It's not designed for it. The surface isn't designed for it. So he was immediately on board all the ideas we had. He didn't feel like it was appropriate. We all surmised that in the past that it had been because the mill had been operational, so that had been the only option to get product in and out, most likely. But it just never been changed after the mill had been decommissioned. Watching truck traffic closely since it's begun, we don't have any roadways here at any intersections, including the circle, that will properly take care of large rig traffic. It's not as bad for the dump trucks. The dump trucks can manage going to Vulcan, but the 18-wheelers, just that long length, you can stand here and watch them just for a short period of time. They can't even make this circle, even though it's to the standards that DOT requires. To me, the better option is the new truck route that will be 211-18 around Jonesville. We've also had contact with several truck drivers, and they have told us outright that truckers in the area know the geography, and they're just afraid of Hotel Hill. So they'll go the alternate route. We have stop trucks. Officer Littleton stopped the truck right here in the parking lot tonight. We were searching for the young lady that was missing that came around the loop and came up. He was like, yeah, I saw the no-through trucks, but my GPS told me to go this way anyway. So they're letting their computer drive their truck. DOT has a certain degree of influence over what those GPS companies put in the system for a truck route, but it's sort of a lag, a time delay. They request that, there's a time period before it actually happens. But the better option, I think, for our roadways, and especially for the safety of our community and the peace of our community, is to send them on that alternate route that we drove. It was the appropriate width. I can't imagine there being any kind of issue. And it really didn't seem like it would take any longer for those trucks to travel that route, considering the speed they have to travel through here.
Have y'all talked to the DOT about all that? Yeah.
Just our initial contact, he has to bring that back to his traffic safety. I think he said it was a committee, is that right, sir? A committee that would,
I know years before, when Adam was here, she tried, when we were putting in the circle down there, she tried to, get it done, but DOT wouldn't do it because it was state road and things like that. But, I think it just, put it off, they didn't want to go through all, coming up and checking the intersections and things like that. It's a state road, we can't do that.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's what she did before, right?
It was put on hold
Yeah,
because of the roundabout construction.
yeah,
So they didn't want to do it because why close that off for trucks and then do the roundabout when they have to go? So
yeah,
they didn't want to do anything, and I think the conversation was lost
yeah.
when the roundabout was finished. So just getting the conversation started again that's the important part.
I think so too, and I'm sure that people in Stone Street and Montgomery are tired of 18-wheelers and getting hung up there at the intersection and coming down and flying down Stone Street.
I think regardless, there should be some roadways. Several of us, in council, have several roads of concern. What you have a road you're talking about, Mr. Hood? Do you know of any roads in your area that the trucks frequent? We have an issue with them. I mean, while we're having a conversation.
It's not coming through Harvey Town yet, though.
For the whole town.
And that was something that I was
It's not coming through Harvey Town yet.
So you're good, okay?
And that was something that I was concerned. I didn't think that you could restrict traffic on state roads, but you can.
It's all about the town filing the right paperwork with the DOT. It's all it comes down to. We don't have to ask them, we just tell them.
Well, Deerwood and Hillbrook Circle need to be on that.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's why
I think it was
all.
already restricted.
Yeah, the road that she was telling me about has a sign on one end of it, but not on the other, so.
I have a question. So, where you have like the truck routes, and they choose not to take it, can you put a sign saying that if there's a certain amount, they can be fined?
Yes, ma'am.
That's part of it too. Once they establish that these roads are no longer there, we need to have an ordinance that allows them to do that. So we need to build the ordinance, we need to get the DOT involved, we need to notify them that they have to put the signs up, indicating the trucks that they cannot turn in certain directions. So that's why I want that conversation. Give you some authority over what's really happening. Every time there's a truck, a police officer has to sit here with them. And that's using public funds. Anytime an officer's doing something, that's public funds are being used, they just sit trucks up at the corner. And you don't have any way to ride and find it. And you should.
That's why I never understood there was the sign on the one end of the street, but not on the other end. And two, Dan may know, but dollar store people don't even need to be coming up off 176, turning on number 9 to go to the dollar store, because they built them a road. Whenever the dollar store, whatever was building on that, you go all the way down there, almost into Jonesville, there's a road that they built for them to specifically to cut off 176 to go to the plant up there.
There are, so I drive a truck. There are the signs that say no trucks allowed. That's one thing, but if you're making a local delivery, you're allowed to still use the road. The only thing that prevents trucks from doing things, certain things, is axle weight limits on roads. So if you put an axle weight limit, then certain size of the truck, they can't go regardless. It doesn't matter what they're doing. They need to have like a delivery ticket or a work order that shows that this is where they're going to this house on that street, and that's why they do that. So there's a lot of ways that it works, but most of the time, everything that's coming through here is generally to a warehouse or distribution point.
Do you have enough information to give us direction on what you want us to bring back to Mr. Wilson, or would you like to try to schedule something with Mr. Wilson to come here to the options?
I mean, most of my stuff was in what I said, Patrick. I think if there's additional goods and concerns from different council members, that's why it entertained me out there. But our streets good.
There was an 18-wheeler the other day tried to turn down Sunset off Hill Road, and they went around Coleman Circle and coming out.
I mean, yes, they're being parties.
I think it's okay to prevent trucks from going down some roads, but not every road in town.
Right.
You can't really do that. But I think in some locations, like specifically, let's say that there's not a corner out there. How many times have we been in a council meeting and trucks? We can at least stop it from coming here. And then the road she's talking about, it comes out to a railroad track. The train usually is stopped at, and if the train's blocking that intersection, the trucks are backing out. I mean, it's just not a good idea.
Oh, it's
We
Pine
got
Drive.
kids on that road, we have a blind resident on that road, and we've got seniors, we walk it, a lot of our neighbors walk our streets, the kids ride their bikes right there.
That's,
Stuck on the tracks.
Yeah.
I think maybe we could just email you some roads to identify, maybe you could look at and Patrick look at.
That road she's talking about is Pine Drive.
Okay.
And just assess it and see if, it makes sense, Pine Drive makes sense, I looked at it, it's not the bottom. Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing is with where Chief found out about the parking lot issue with having trucks sit out there in parking lots and parties, that's also kind of, it's going to take care of a lot of some of the stuff. People are going to realize that Pacolet's not a truck stop. It is not a truck hangout spot. So I'll find out more information of what he has provided, and I can reach out to y'all if you'd like in a future time. We can do a work session. It could be a work session with this and other things that.
I would also like to have some information in regards to an ordinance. Whatever ordinances that you feel necessary, language-wise, so that we can start looking at that now, and maybe have that in place, so it doesn't take too long, because Just identify some. I mean, I've looked at a few myself, but I think it's necessary that the chief help build this because it's what he's gonna be using with his department and his officers.
Absolutely.
If that's okay with everybody else.
We'll bring that to you all at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It can be more than one, broken out in different pieces, whatever's necessary.
Next thing on there is consider approval of bid for limb removal. Sent y'all a spreadsheet, the bids that came in for limb removal before came in. 2 were tied. In the event, this is from the new purchasing ordinance, in the event 2 or more bidders are tied in price while otherwise meeting all the required conditions and contracts will be awarded to the local bidder. Neither one of these are local. If 2 or more such bids are submitted by local bidders, the purchasing agent shall award the contract to one of the local bidders by drawing lots in public. If local bidders are not involved in the tie bids, the purchasing agents shall award the contract to one of the outside bidders by drawing lots in public. We have a little box here with 2 names in it. If y'all would like to, if y'all want to look at these as the 2 lowest bidders on there that are tied, and whoever wants to on council draw a name, and that would be who is selected as the final bidder there. Or you can put it back out to bid if you like.
Do you know anything about either 2 of these?
The only difference I see is that there's, the first one has put in some details, the other one is not. As far as what how thorough they are. Did the second one, that was also the lowest, mention any of these details, the blowing off the street and whatnot?
Your contract details will include all the things necessary, correct?
The contract, the RFP that was sent out, it had all the stuff in there. All I asked for them to do was provide a price. Now, if they wanted to go above and beyond and put more stuff there, that's up to them. Now, our contract that we'll actually sign will have exactly the details of what they're going to do and what they're not going to be doing out there.
The RFP indicated everything that was necessary, blowing off the streets and so on and so forth. So the price includes everything involved.
Yes, and what you've got is, I believe there's 2 different groups on there. I think they're sure that they're the same. One was, and this is just completely up to you. One was a chipping, and the other one was hauling off and removing. But they're still, at the end of the day, it's gone.
Have you entertained the idea of asking Travis and Mike to work overtime?
Excuse me?
Have you entertained the idea of asking Travis and Mike to work overtime to try to get some of these limbs picked up? I know the chipper truck was broke down, but once it came back online, was there, I mean, is there some way we can substitute some of this by using our own employees or?
We can try to do that. The reason we're in the situation that we're in now is because they're backed up on other stuff.
So let me ask you, you counted the files, so there's exactly 100
There's
files?
not exactly, there's approximately 100 that's out there.
So how will you identify how much and control what the end result's going to be?
I will end up going out there. I have to be a little bit of trust with them on there, but I will end up, at the end of the day, I know there's approximately 80 plus piles that are out there. And I didn't go on every single street. And so at the end of the day, it is $11,700 to take care of the entire issue. So what all I'm doing is once they say they're done, I'm gonna drive around every single street, the entire town. If I see any limbs that are out there, you go take care of that, otherwise you're not getting paid.
Okay, so they're pricing it per pile, but there's probably only 80 piles, but it's $11,700 to take care of the issue.
When I sent out the RFP, I put it out for 100 piles that were out there.
Okay. If they only pick up 80, are they going to be paid less?
Yes, we can actually have it set up because the 2 lowest that are on there actually put in their per pile price.
Right.
And so
when would they be able to do this?
as soon as y'all say yes, and the next thing will be is to drop that contract.
Okay, so is it possible to have Travis manage that and identify the locations that they're picking them up? And
Absolutely.
so I mean, if I'm going to approve something that says per pile, and they only do 70 piles, I want to pay $11,700.
We can set it up as a per pile basis.
Is that?
Well, it actually, let me step back. I want to say not per pile, per yard. There's a house that's two doors down from Mr. Hood, who's got about 6 or 7 piles, but it's at one address. And then there are some locations that have 5 sticks. And that's why, when I've talked to these people, I've had them come back and say, this is a per yard. I said, that's fine, we'll do it per yard.
So yard does not mean cubic yard, it means an address.
Yard means the address.
Okay, see, I was reading as cubic yard, which is, okay. That's good.
Tony, just for informational purposes, what did it cost us the last 2 times we had a company come pick up?
4,000 one time,
And that was that one cat that come and picked
Quite
up the.
a bit of inflation.
Who was that? He's good. Doug Foster.
Is there a reason why he's not on this list?
Yeah. He just told him that.
He came in and he considered it, and we gave him we gave him something to look at.
It's quite a bit more money. What do you think?
I do think it's more money. I don't know why it was $4,500 before, or 40 something, 4,100.
5,000.
Okay. I don't know exactly what went on in that. I don't know if there was as many piles that were out there. I don't know.
Was it the qualifications in the RFP?
I mean, with the qualifications, I think the only thing I've got in there, I have to look back to see, I believe it was just that
Was he local?
none of these, the 2 lowest are not.
Yes, Ben done it for.
Tony was there, the insurance requirement of $4 million.
I don't remember, I don't think so, but he's got it.
That's what he is. He's from Rolla, isn't he?
He might not want to do it unless he almost got shot.
He works for Milligan.
What was the thing?
Yeah, last time he was picking up limbs, somebody
Yeah.
tried to shoot him, I think.
Mhm.
Something of that sort.
Yeah.
One of his employees picking up limbs, somebody didn't like the fact that picking up limbs in their yard. I'm not really sure what happened. Good do for you.
Hope so. We do it per yard, not to exceed the 11,700.
I mean, so that's what we're saying, it's like, I mean, Travis, if this doesn't happen for another 3 weeks, and Travis is out there picking up limbs on Friday, and he gets 20 files and there's only 50 left, you see the point?
Absolutely.
I think it needs to be managed and I think
The more
somebody
they-
needs to be identified, not walking with and holding hands, but identifying what was there, what was picked up, and address flags, that kind of stuff, and have a plan to not just pay $11,700.
I can work with Travis and we'll go
We
through.
inside the city limits, right?
It's just the city limits.
Okay.
That's the problem, is last time we were putting up limbs outside the city limits also.
I can go through and actually do an address, a list with Travis, and go through every single address and identify what's there.
So, the other thing is, I want to bring up, maybe it is necessary to have some kind of law. If there was somebody in my district, I don't want to mention names, but they've been there since early spring, grass has grown over their pile completely, you can't even see there's limbs there. So, I do want to establish something, we've talked about this before, Tony does not like it, if I remember right. But there needs to be, something where, even if it's just a tab on the website that says, hey, I got limbs in my front yard. That maybe prioritizes going down a list, and then once that list is complete, then you can start working. We'll probably be back here again, hiring somebody to pick up limbs. But the point is, at least we'll have some sort of a prioritized list. And unfortunately, it can be called in or, emailed or something of that sort. But I think something like that is necessary.
But we've been having, that's how it's supposed to be.
We have the ability now.
Isn't it, they call in, you put them on a list, and when he drives that route, he identifies, those type of limbs.
Yeah, but I think notifying the public that can be done, so. And Travis knows what's what.
I just think it's a shame at this point. I mean, I know we've had problems with the chipper and things like that, but we hired those 2 guys, do the work. I mean, and we fall behind every year. I mean, it seems like we fall behind every year. I know we have the spraying, the chipper,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know, this is, and like Jason said, you know, he's got files that's, grass is grown over, you know, plant, we picked those up, you know. I think, you know, we need to look at that too. I mean, you know, working overtime is fine, but, you know, I think it ought to be done when we have the, you know, when they have on their regular hours. I mean,
I agree.
we talked about this before.
We do.
Uh,
We've gone through
and we have beat this horse to death. But I think, you know, they should be able to pick up this stuff on the regular hours, but, you know, if we need to pay them overtime, whatever, you know, let's get this thing done. But, you know, if we get it done, I would like to see it stay done. You know, I'm tired of coming back year after year having to pick up limbs. So that's my opinion.
And is their day, like Fridays, is that when it's supposed to occur?
Thursday and Friday.
It's just Friday.
Just Friday. What do they do Thursday?
They have a schedule for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If they have any additional time that's left over, it's usually about an hour or two. They come back to the office or come back to the shop and have small projects. I've got a list of some projects they're working on right now. They're doing Christmas light stuff.
So on Friday, so what are they, yeah. So what are they doing on Friday?
So Friday all day is limb pickup.
Okay.
So the chipper truck has been done, even though we haven't been discussing this, could that not have still be happening?
Yes, they are still using the tractor truck and still going through. We were looking at, Travis and I were talking about this, in some communities, I know in Greer, they actually use the trash truck to pick up limbs. And so we're considering that as a possibility, because it's a lot easier just to pick them up, throw them in the back, and let them be compacted than trying to chip them on site. So we're considering that, but also don't want to damage the existing truck. But there's other communities that do this every day.
Yeah, we don't have backup.
I want to tell you this. The reason why when we hire a company and they come in here and do it, and they've got a grappler that leaches in grass and just puts it in a truck. And it's done, it's over with, it's not that big of a deal. Our guys are reaching in piles with their hands that have snakes, poison ivy, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take some time, you know, and I'm not trying to validate anything. I'm just saying that there is a bit of caution, concern every time we walk up to the next spot, you know, especially in the middle of summer.
Well, especially now.
Yeah. So
Most towns I've ever worked in or lived in, they do the grafting, but they do not chip on site.
that's right. They grab and they smash it in the truck and they go to the next pile. And it's quick and easy. I think, you know, I don't know that that's something we should entertain. I doubt the cost of that would be.
There's two names that are in there.
I wonder what it was. There were two names in there, okay.
The two lowest bidders are in there.
I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing with that. I thought the jumbo was chips.
I want a copy of the contract before this is done.
Absolutely.
I want to know the language of it before we.
It's a copy of Jerema,
Carolina Landscapes.
Yeah. Copy.
It's been chosen in public, and the drawing lots for Carolina Landscaping, and I'll have that contract to council as soon as I have that ready. And y'all be able to chance to look at that before they sign it.
We need to vote on this, right?
When will the contract be signed, ready to go? And when are you thinking you're gonna have this work done?
I'm hoping to have this contract to you first of next week. I'm out of town Friday and Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll work that. By the end of next week, you'll have a contract ready to go, if not sooner. And if anybody has any recommendations of what needs to be in there, please go ahead and send that to me, and I can look that over the weekend.
Do we need to vote on it, or do we need to wait till?
You can figure out the language.
I'd suggest you go ahead and vote on it, that you're gonna approve this person as your contractor. Now, the actual contract itself, I'll wait until council is
I
okay
think
with
that's
it.
appropriate, it's approve this person as a contractor. The language of the contract, that's something that
Make a motion to grant the bid to Jerome Landscape.
Okay, motion made to accept Jerome Landscaping bid.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Okay, any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay,
It's just like we did first.
yeah.
you need to vote.
Town administrator's report, I'll go ahead and try to rush this quick. The planpacket.com is currently up and running. Just wanted to give you an update on our financial system. We'll go to Stephen Blake, still working with staff to update the way finances are completed in Pacolet. Part of the problem is the Pacolet had been operating with different fiscal year end, and this part is the overhaul. Council requested that monthly reports reflect all spending in detail and from which line item of the budget. This is possible with the current system. However, the complete overhaul of the system has been the priority first. So this month we will not have financials in detail that has been requested. So what y'all normally had, since we're currently in the process of overhauling everything, we weren't able to put together what you're looking for on there. If you would like, I can go ahead and give you statements, so you at least have that. But we are working towards having a system where we'll be able to print out a detailed P&L sheet, basically, that shows all the revenues and all the expenses for y'all to be able to look at every single month.
And this is what we need, because that was one of the things I was gonna mention tonight, because we already asked to have a spreadsheet and we haven't had one.
The problem is there is a lot of work that needs to be updated on as the former system that's on there. Mr. Blake can definitely come in here and tell us that there's a lot that needs to be done to fix some older problems and get things to the point where they need to be so we can easily have that. It is not ready yet.
So how is it that you can take it off the budget but not put it on a spreadsheet?
The way it's done right now is it's taken out of Sage and then it is actually physically typed into Excel spreadsheet, I believe, or Word directly on there. And the way it should be done is it's printed directly out of Sage, so that you don't have a possibility for any type of mistakes or errors or that sort of thing. That you're getting it directly from the system out into paper.
Tony doesn't do that.
What's that?
Make mistakes.
And this is supposed to be ready by next month?
I am hoping to have it ready by next month. But Tony can attest there's a lot that's going on and a lot that's being fixed.
For the changes that you're making, is that gonna require other people? Like, all the changes and stuff, I mean, is that something you're still gonna be using or?
It's something that Tony's going to be using. We're teaching our assistant town clerk how to use it as well. So, and we're also going to be upgrading the system. Right now, we've got Pro, and we're looking at getting Premium, which will be able to do all the stuff that council wants us to be able to do on there, and have payroll on there. It's gonna, at the end of the day, you're gonna end up having more transparency and easier to understand, easier to look at, easier to manage down the road. I promise you, this is gonna be a big thing.
It would cost to be upgraded.
We're still looking at, I believe it was around $1,200 for the premium for 2 subscriptions on there.
You're talking about Mr. Blake's food.
No, for Sage. 2 subscriptions?
2 subscriptions,
Why?
so that 2 people can be there at one time, working on it together. We could just do one, but I'm wanting it to,
2 people need to be working on it at the same time.
We couldn't do it at the same time.
we're looking at having April having access as much as Tony has access on there.
But we wouldn't be working on
But we can just do 1 subscription, that's perfectly fine.
Do we have one right now or 2?
That 1. I'll have a much better update for you at the next meeting on Atlanta, and Mr. Blake actually come out and talk about it as well. Regarding the residential building permit process, I would like to schedule a meeting for council to talk directly to RCI about the town's process and why it is different than others. This meeting can be part of the next council meeting in September if y'all would like.
With that, the process, is that because of our ordinances?
Is what RCI does differently, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting that we were getting a little bit of pushback in terms of the process to build a new house in town. It is a little bit more difficult than it is in just Spartanburg County.
So it's because of RCI's policies?
It's because of RCI's policies, and I want them to explain to you why they're doing that.
Once you go back to Spartanburg.
So part of it has to do with ISO ratings. So the better ISO rating you have, the better insurance you'll end up having. So the people in town will actually pay a lower insurance. The majority of the builders that we're working with are having absolutely no problem with this. The people that are having issues are tract builders.
I don't think people trying to buy a home should have to go through what they go through. It's too.
It's not people buying homes.
It's the one that's building it, you know, the track builder is the one that's having trouble.
So, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there an issue with just getting a storage building? That process took forever?
No, that had nothing to do with that.
What was the issue with that? I thought,
Getting a permit, yeah.
Now, that process was because the person who was running it at that time did not answer in quickly enough time. That is different. This is talking about residential building and what he requires of the builder up front for the residential process. It is not for adding a shed or doing any type of thing like that.
do you have any emails from these tract builders that express their?
Yes.
You have that?
I have, let me see what I have in terms of what Enchanted has provided. I also got a phone call from one of the Spartanburg Homebuilder Association members, and then I got a phone call and an email from a state representative.
It's not gonna be.
But I think they were all representing the same person.
They're all from the same person?
It was all coming after the Enchanted Homes. The person who owns Enchanted Homes also happens to be the president of the Homebuilder Association.
Can you forward those to me? So
I can
so
forward
know
you-
in context what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Yep.
But they still apply to a homeowner
No.
to build a home?
But,
The contractor has to get the permit. And that's what, when you go through all that, that's where all this, comes, all the permitting and things.
It's
The homeowner doesn't have anything to do with it.
it's the inspections.
And I'll give you an example.
RCI's doing this.
The issue that came up with Enchanted Homes was he wants them to provide a electrical layout of what's going to be in the residential property they're building. And they don't want to provide that because they make changes throughout the process. And so every time they make a change, RCI says, you need to update your plans. Now, he's not asking for engineer stamp drawings. He's just asking for an updated drawing so that this is what you say you're going to build. So when I come out and inspect it, this is what you said you're going to build, and this is what's out here.
Is that an example or is it?
That is one example.
That happens.
That sounds like RCI's policy
Yeah.
is requesting an updated set of drawings. An updated set of drawings, even if you're changing one wire.
It's
If you have to go to the print company, you gotta contact the engineer, cost them like crap ton of money.
It is.
to have it done.
It's not engineered drawings. He even said that you can just draw something on your computer. I just need to know, if you're gonna say you're gonna put something here, I need to know it's going to be there. If you end up moving it over here, I need to know that. He said, I'm not looking for stamp drawings, and I'm not looking for engineered drawings.
Well, it's for
If they're not standing, not engineered, what does it matter?
To know that that's what you originally,
originally.
what's that?
How would that affect the builders that I saw there?
I'd rather him be here to explain that than me.
I would love to
Well,
hear.
yeah, I mean, if Spartanburg County doesn't require this, he sounds like he's just making it harder.
He charges per permit, so it's not like he's trying to make extra money. His permit process takes longer. He's probably also charging per visit, per inspection, I would assume.
Well, I would think that if Spartanburg County doesn't require it.
We need to talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can have him come at the next meeting and we can talk about that.
And please forward that.
I'll forward you what I can find on there, and anything that he's got, I'll get that to you as well.
You said it's Enchanted that has an issue.
Yeah.
Ask him for a statement.
Enchanted have a statement? Okay.
I just, council requested some kind of
Sure.
complaint.
There's currently a request for minor repairs at the Pacolet Mills Post Office across the street here. We are currently working with a contractor to determine all that needs to be done and make those repairs. If the cost exceeds $1,000, bids will be collected. They've sent someone going through all their properties. They identified some problems that were in there. They sent us a letter and said, we'd like these problems fixed. That's required in our contract, in our lease agreement, that the town who owns the property takes care of. And so we're in the process of finding out all those repairs and what it's gonna cost. And like I said, it's over $1,000, we'll bid that out.
What are the repairs?
The repairs for the building up here, one of them is there's some holes in the ceiling. Another one is there was a, as they said, gunshot into a window, and replacing that window. And so it's just small minor stuff that's in there. It's nothing major that I've seen.
Water.
What's that? Water heater? Yes, that was one thing, is they don't currently have a water heater over there or a working water heater. And so we're looking at getting something just enough to provide them that, because I don't think they're taking showers up there.
Yeah, it's just hand washing.
Right.
Get it tankless.
Yeah, they're on demand, cheap.
Next thing on here is important. Town has received a request for annexation into the town limits. This is an economic development project that would have a big impact on the community. They are requesting a meeting with town council. I think it would be appropriate to schedule a call meeting for executive session for the purposes of economic development. So if y'all would let me know a date that worked for y'all.
We have too many meetings.
What's that?
We have too many meetings.
I know,
Listen, it's every 2 weeks, you know what I mean? I don't do this all day.
Yeah.
this is a big project.
This is a large project, I'll tell you that. A large project, bring a lot of,
So let's do like a work session or something on the weekend, so we can just meet with us.
What I can do, if you're okay with the mayor calling that meeting based off of a poll of all of y'all.
We just have to call it a work session. We can just-
Well, what I'm saying, it'll be work session / executive session to try to get it all done in one thing. Or the other option is we do at the next council meeting, y'all meet at 6 o'clock and get all the stuff taken care of, and then 7 o'clock's the main meeting.
How long is it gonna take? I mean, I don't wanna rush something, if it's a big project, it's gonna be a 2 or 3 hour conversation, let's do it on Saturday.
it won't be that long,
It'll be an hour,
maybe.
maybe less than that.
Mhm.
Next council meeting, sounds perfect.
Next council meeting.
Is that too far out?
Well, they wanted it done as soon as they could.
Yeah, one of the things they're looking at is as soon as council is okay with it, they're gonna move forward on this annexation quick. I can give you broad strokes if you'd like.
Is it not supposed to be public there?
Not
Sounds like
We never signed an NDA on there, but I can give you some broad strokes on it if you'd like, to kind of give you an idea of how big this is.
let's just get it done. Sounds like something that doesn't come along the road as soon as we can.
Vote it? What do you wanna do?
When do y'all want to?
There's two meetings that's coming
So if it's an annexation on there, if y'all want to have the meeting, now I wouldn't think that you would want to have the meeting and the annexation the same thing, because I think it's something big that y'all need to consider. Now, if you'd like to go ahead and have the opportunity to do the first reading of the annexation after the executive session, we
It
can do
only makes
that.
sense to,
What's that?
it only makes sense to do that.
Okay.
2 weeks from now. Can four of us be here 2 weeks from now?
The 17th?
Yeah. Yeah, we can't do something.
No, I can be here.
No, you can.
Oh, the 17th?
Yeah, we already have a meeting on 17th at the church,
What?
church council.
Oh. I
Mr.
can miss that.
Can you be here on the 17th?
I can miss that.
Wait and see about the second.
Okay.
17th, okay?
17th at 6
It
o'clock.
doesn't have to be on a Thursday. We have to have, how many days?
6 days between.
It could be next week.
Yeah, you can do it tomorrow if you wanted to. Well, not the 24 hours from there, but once you have it, then you have 6 days minimum between that meeting and the next meeting for the second reading.
Let's just do it next Thursday.
Next Thursday will be easier for everybody.
What's the date on it?
The 10th.
Hmm?
The 10th. We normally have a history committee, but we can cancel it. It's that important.
I can't make it.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
No, what I'm saying is this is more important than having the history committee meeting. I can call them and cancel that.
But he can't be here.
I can't be here.
Oh, okay.
So it
Tuesday, the-
So Tuesday or,
I like to be here because,
yeah.
Seems like you want to go about it, so you need to be here.
Next Tuesday?
Tuesday the 8th.
Can anybody do Tuesday?
I'd like for all of y'all to be here if you can, because this is,
6 o'clock.
When day?
Tuesday next
Just a
Tuesday.
reminder.
yeah, Tuesday, the 8th at 6 o'clock.
I may have to be fine.
Okay.
We just, it's hard for me to get here at 6.
Well, then tomorrow's coming on too.
6:30?
6:30?
Okay, 6:30.
6:30?
Thank you, Tony.
Oh, y'all didn't hear that, Mr. Police.
What's that? I didn't, I'm sorry.
You get here at 6, she's on 2 wheels. She's on the 2 on the side, 2 in the back.
They're here.
Okay. There's an old bill from 2021 when cleanup was requested by the former administrator at the fishing piers. It's $1,000. The main thing is I didn't know how far back that y'all wanted to go. If someone comes walking in here with a bill from 3 years ago, it's what point do you say it's been too long?
So legit though.
That's been too long.
What was
You can't just come in from 2021 with a bill, we're gonna pay it.
Tony, is this legit?
I don't know, this was done in Holsten. And Alan was wanting him to clean up down there at the pier. And he was planting stuff and everything. I wasn't involved with it, she was dealing with it, I don't know.
Okay. See if she's, remembers, has any emails or down.
Is that a detailed bill? Does it give like a, what he actually did? Is it detailed? Does it say actually what he did?
Yeah, with that old amount, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was, that's what the amount was. We withhold that amount, or what?
What are you saying, it's $1,000 we owed it?
$1,000.
Yeah.
Did we withhold 1,000? Is that part of the contract or anything?
According to him, he said he was doing work for the previous administrator. He was doing some work on cleaning up all of the slopes or the hills going into the river. He was also doing some work down at the pier. He was thinking he was going to be doing some additional work, and so he didn't send the bill at that time. Then Trey came along, nothing happened. Then I come along, nothing happened. And so now he's like, well, I've got this whole bill from a long time ago. I want to go and get this cleaned up.
I mean, why did he asking for $1,000?
It sounded as if he was doing a lot of work, I guess $5,500 worth of work in there. And he says that the town still owes him $1,000. I don't know if the town had already paid the other $4,500 on there. I don't know.
No, so I can tell you that I'm gonna need him to explain a little bit better, because none of this, other than some debris removal, may have ever taken place.
Yeah.
No sod, no flowers, no shrubs, none of that stuff was ever done.
That's why I wanted y'all to look at it, because I wasn't here for any of this stuff.
Yeah.
There is evidence that some of that stuff happened, because the Lions Club just did a cleanup. We found a bunch of like the empty plastic pots, and it looked like some plants that had been left there, never actually put in the ground.
Yeah.
There was some odd evidence of plants.
Yes, there's some pots out there where some was actually put out there, but never actually put into the ground.
Right, we collected a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, the sod was never placed. I never saw the sod.
So having him come to the next meeting, is that what you're asking?
None of that work ever took place. You know?
Well, it's like you said, I think it started somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you looking for more explanation from him, or do you want him to come to council?
Either one. I mean, it sounds like you're not sure what he did or did not do, and he's not really explaining anything further, and I'm not gonna approve any money until I understand it better.
And like, I would have the authority to do it, but I don't like doing it just because I don't know what he's talking about. And I don't want anybody just to think that, hey, I've got $1,000 bill that the town owes.
He's the one that had the lawn service. I mean, he was cutting grass, right? Is that-
No, this is got to fix up the
Okay, Leo's, okay. All right.
Okay. Sanitation needed a air compressor, purchased the air compressor. It's being installed today. And so now they are able to pump up their tires without having to use Mr. Wright's air compressor. Currently working with ACOG on grant funding to cover the cost of stormwater mapping and evaluation through, it's supposed to be CDBG, not CDE, and the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority. The committee of the 2023 Pacolet Riverfest met, committed sponsorship so far is $11,050, which is more than what was committed last year. Of course, it's not included some dollars from IGA. Entertainment for the event has been set. The Embers, Monaco 1962, and Cody Lane Band. Mega Rock Challenge has been booked at $750, which was originally, I think I remember, they were asking for $750. Unless you have an objection, all revenue expenses will be passing through the 501c3, the Pacolet thread, and you will be provided regular financial reports once everything is in place. Moving along.
Question, if a band still wanted to come and play, is it everything there?
We've set the 3 bands that are out
So
there.
it's closed down? Okay.
We had 5 that were there last time, and it was just too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with the 501c3. The town recently received a sponsorship request from Broome High School. I'm worried about every sponsorship request coming before council. So what I would suggest to y'all is that the Riverfest committee does a sponsorship with them to pay for basically an ad to advertise the Riverfest that's coming up, if y'all are okay with that.
That's a good idea. Do we need to vote on that, or can that just be?
I think it's appropriate advertising.
Yep, it would just be advertising on that.
Okay.
Christmas committee met and discussed some new ideas, like hosting a movie night during the tree lighting, which would require the purchase of a large screen and projector. We're currently looking at a grant to possibly cover the cost, but if we're not able to find that grant, I plan on trying to use some hospitality money on there. It would be less than $1,000. Yes, sir.
Check with the local churches. There's quite a few of them that have it stuff already.
I think Brown's Church used to do it.
Brown's Chapel has.
Brown's Chapel.
Yeah.
What?
A projector and screen.
Oh, yeah.
But if it works, we'll end up doing some of these in the springtime.
Yeah.
Next scheduled meeting for the Christmas committee is August 21st. Y'all can all read that. History committee, 10 to 14 appointments. So we've had planning commission and BZA has all been gone to the training except for 4. And I'm currently looking at replacing some banners that were installed around the traffic circle with much larger ones that can easily be seen. I'm also considering having various banners for various seasons. If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and price those out and bring to y'all at the next meeting. And y'all can look at the designs. If y'all are okay with that, we can move forward with that.
Yeah, because I think I was asking you, Tony, last, what happened to the banners that are in there and on the bridge in downtown, the little signs?
There were tiny banners, and I think when you order it, a sign.
Most towns have that signs, but
I think when I think they were ordered, didn't realize how small they would be in the setting, and so we're going to get larger ones that really can be able to see really well, and we can look at having them on the bridge. I just want to make sure it's not going to be a DOT issue with getting hit.
The bridge would be the pedestrians walking out and along.
Yes, I've had that in
downtown, down.
So what I'm looking at is the 6 that are on the light poles here on the circle. And then we can also, if that works well, we can expand it out to number 9 too.
Yeah.
As long as you install them higher.
Yes. The other thing I wanted to make sure that y'all were aware of in here, so the Pacolet River Fest sponsorship, I left a copy in here of what the sponsorship looks like. So you can kind of look at it. So we already have the main sponsors already been taken. 2 of the gold sponsors have already been taken. And we've gotten about 2 or 3 bronze sponsors that have already come in as well. I expect all this to be booked up. Lockhart has not committed yet. I expect them to take one of these. And a couple other ones who are pending some other stuff that will be coming in. I think we'll end up getting around $15,000 to $20,000 in this year for sponsorships.
What are the vendors look like?
Ma'am?
The vendors, what are the vendors look like?
So we have not sent out the vendor permits, the vendor applications yet. We were finalizing that today. I'm hoping to have, actually we will have that out Monday morning out to the public, and I'll be working with Ms. Wright to get that on our website so people can pay online.
I back up to number 13. It says there's only 10, there's 14 vacancies on the.
So there's 14 people, 7 on each committee. Only 10 of the 14 have taken training. It's required by law that both the planning commission and the BZA have to attend training within a year of being appointed to those boards. There's 2 on each board who have not taken training.
I read that wrong. Thank you for that clarification.
If y'all are good with that, I'll move on to the code enforcement building permits. I've included in here a copy of the building permits. There's 47 addresses that are currently going through. That is a lot. A lot of them, we had more complaints than just 47, but a lot of them were duplicates. I believe what's happening is the people in the community are starting to realize that we are doing what we said we're going to do with code enforcement. And we've been getting a lot of complaints in there. I have Mr. Don, who's here with RCI, who has been part of the process. If y'all have any questions about how things are going, he can come up here. He's mentioned to me earlier that he's seeing a lot more change happening so far in the community. Places that he's gone to before are now being cleaned up, and he's seeing a lot less of repeat people out there.
So, if there is tickets to be given, who's going to be writing it? I see right here, one that says warning ticket issued.
The police department. This is another thing that I know I hate to say this, and I know Mr. Wright's going to give me the stink eye when I say it, but I think that we need to have a workshop at some point to go over code enforcement as we've learned more and more going over this past time. A workshop that may include the judge, includes police officers, RCI, and our attorney. We've learned a lot going through this process, and we're continuing to learn more as we go through it. We talk to other towns to kind of see how they're doing things, and we're considering different options. But I will say that you are seeing a lot more activity than you've ever seen in a very long time.
I think you guys should all have that meeting and come tell us about it.
We were going to have a meeting. we'll have that meeting and let you know what happens.
You can let us know when one or two of them show up, that's fine.
Building permits that have been issued out there, I think you're probably aware that O'Reilly's is going to the former Dollar General site, and RCI is currently going through the plans on that. There's some other plans that have been coming through. One thing I wanted y'all to be aware of, and we can talk about this at another time because we're already getting to the end of times on here. What I had originally budgeted for incomes on building permits it's going to be a lot higher. So we originally budgeting to having about $900 a month coming in on building permits. The last 2 or 3 months, we're looking at between $3,000 and $6,000 that's coming in on building permits.
Yeah.
But that will also, you'll see that on the other side of things, where the money, because the way the contract works with RCI is they get 80% of that. And so you'll see more of that going back out on the other side. The town's still keeping 20%, so we're making more money at the end of the day. And I believe,
So they get 80% of the building permit, why?
because they're the ones who are doing the work. The town's not doing anything with that.
And how was it before Spartanburg County did it?
We'd get nothing off.
But still, not 80% of the law. That's what they're in business for.
I agree. It is a lot. In a small town like this, it makes sense. In a much larger town, the last town that I was in was about 25,000 people, and it was closer to around 30% at that town. But they were going through a much higher volume.
So because we're a small town, we're being charged more.
It is consistent with what RCI and CCI do across the board in all the other towns that are out there.
Small towns or larger towns or comparable towns?
I'm just saying what was done in Georgia. I mean, this is RCI and CCI have the same percentage of what they take as RCI and CCI are the main two that I believe are in the upstate or in South Carolina. But if there's another group that takes less, we can look at that. If Ryan wants to take less, we're okay with that.
Submit documents.
What's that?
I said, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? All right, I want to go over the monthly stats and give you a little information on that. I've added a new category on there for you. 162 calls for service, 87 officer-initiated events, and 9 traffic stops. And I've implemented keeping statistics for you for the initiated events. It's a term that I've used with you before when we spoke back in January talking about the previous year's statistics. I want to give you a better picture of actual workload. The number of calls we get from Spartanburg dispatch does not tell you what our workload is. There will be days where an officer will answer one call from 12-hour shift. That's not the only thing they do during the course of the day. The things that the officer initiates as well, all the things that I'm requiring them to do for their normal patrol schedule, you need to kind of have track of that as well. So I want you to look at call volumes from Spartanburg County's dispatcher at the 911 comm center and think that's the only thing our police officers do. So I'll provide that information for you going forward, and we'll have a much deeper conversation about it at some time in the future, probably in January when we go over our entire year's stats for 2023. We did our first ever National Night Out event this week. Very positive response from everybody that participated. I really appreciated, the officers really appreciated all the council members attending and your support. You provided a budget for us. We really weren't seeking a budget. We were going to try to make it happen on our own, but you provided one, and we really appreciate that. That shows us how much you support us in our efforts to be more of a community-oriented agency. That's our goal going forward. This is just breaking the ice and getting things rolling, and we're not going to look back. Our next event I'm planning for late September, we're going to do a bicycle rodeo for kids over at the Benjamin Mays Center. Mr. Hill's going to help us with that. We've got some mission groups that are going to provide bikes to kids that don't have them, provide helmets and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a good time. I think it's a good filler in between, finishing National Night Out and before we get into what I'll call Riverfest season. Let's move down. I'll be all next week at the EPDS program at the University of South Carolina. We talked about last month, and I'll show you before. On July 19th, the missing persons investigation was initiated for Chris Helen. The search was conducted nonstop for over 36 hours and was made possible by the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office Bloodhound Tracking Team, the Pacolet Volunteer Fire District, Spartanburg County Emergency Management, and Spartanburg County CERT volunteers. There was an incredible response on social media as well, and effort from everyone out there trying to assist. The case was resolved and this helped in returning home safely, so the department would like to acknowledge and thank all of those agencies for their prompt and professional response to this emergency. It was greatly appreciated. It was really a team effort. Everyone did a great job, and we got the best result out of it we could possibly do. I don't have it on my list here, but I want to update you on what's going on the party situation with the parking lot. Their district manager has been very receptive. Their initial plan was to pave that lot. They got bids from contractors, and it was astronomical, the number they were quoted. So they had backed off of that. On the 15th day after I gave them the initial notification, I had contact and discussion with the district manager, and I explained to him, we're not trying to jam you up, we're not trying to make money off of this, but you are going to have to follow orders going forward. They requested more time. I granted him more time. They are trying to get out a process with the contractor to close that lot with concrete barriers. I have had several truck drivers that have just shown up at the police department and really wanted to argue about this. I shut them down pretty quickly and basically explained this is the ordinance that's been on our book for a very long time. And that is our council's goal to enforce our ordinances to make a better town, and explain to them the reason why the ordinance exists and what their options are going forward. And by the time they all left, they understood. They really wish it was different, but they understood. And that also ties into our conversation earlier about truck traffic. That Hardee's had essentially turned into a truck stop. That district manager told me that as the truck traffic has grown there, that is the busiest Hardee's that he has in this entire district. I don't believe it. That's what he said. I don't see every truck going through there being responsible for one burger, one fry, one Coke. I mean, how's that pushing their numbers up? But nonetheless, any questions I can answer for anybody, anything that are popping up in your districts that your constituents have asked to relay to the police department? Any questions I can answer myself for what we're doing, what we're looking forward to? All right, thank you guys so much for your support. We've noticed, and we appreciate it.
How do y'all handle 911 calls?
That really sort of depends on what you're talking about specifically.
You get a call from 911 people. I mean, how do you handle it?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question.
What is your process? When 911 calls an on-duty officer, what's your process at that point?
They typically receive a call by radio. We do have a duty phone that we have assigned. Any officers on duty is carrying that phone with them. Majority of the time it comes by radio. They also dispatch it by email and text messages at the exact same time. So we have all the text information that we may need. We may have additional detail that they don't take the time to express over the air. The officer obviously goes en route, determines if he needs backup from another officer, typically a county officer, arrives on the scene and handles it. Maybe I'll get you.
They do supposed to answer the 911 call, right? I mean,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's first priority. Anything that comes through the 911 call center on the 911 line is a priority call.
And if they don't answer, they're not available, it goes to you, right?
Yes, usually.
911's policy is if the on-duty officer isn't responding, they have to notify 600.
Right. They do. But we were in the in-person sheriff's office. There's been some pushback from their deputies on the road. There hasn't been pushback from the sheriff or the sheriff's command staff, but the deputies on the road have started having an attitude about having to answer calls if we don't have an officer on duty. So that may be something we'll have discussion about in the future. Is the sheriff going to cover when we don't have 24-hour coverage or not? Because we don't have the officers in manpower at 24 coverage at this point. So there has been some pushback. There have been some sarcastic comments and things from deputies that calls that officers have responded to. Yeah, that's probably something we should discuss with the sheriff, because it seems like the people between the sheriff and us are a little disconnected and don't give the best customer service. Our sheriff told us he was going to cover calls when we didn't have an officer on duty. His deputies on the road seem to have an issue with that. So that may be a discussion we have to have.
When are the covered times?
With all due respect, I'd rather not discuss that in public forum. It's something we can discuss in executive session because I don't want to go on public record saying this is when we have an officer on duty and when we don't for a criminal standpoint. We discussed that with the MASC last week, their attorney, and they said we are authorized to have executive sessions to discuss those topics. And it's something I would like us to do going forward. But we're gonna have to talk with you about it online, but not something that's, fully requestable publicly.
I think that's something that I would like to have a meeting with the chief, personnel, if that's something we can do in executive session,
That's a specific question I asked their attorney on staff.
To me, it's a personnel issue, that we have questions, and really these are questions that I think pertains to something much larger, so.
It was brought up with,
We have an executive session.
and because of the nature of it, that y'all could do executive session with the chief.
I think it's appropriate, so. Maybe next week, or he's gonna be gone all
Yeah,
next
we're going all next week. That'd be that idea.
So next month, that sounds good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, and, last night was awesome.
It was. Good turnout.
Sorry. Hang on, man.
I'd like to let the council know on Saturday, I'll attend the, Panthers, road run for the members and council members. And I enjoyed it, it was very good, I got to go to
Did you throw it far?
So it's fun.
Did you run? Did you run?
No,
Okay.
next time I have some.
I feel like this.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I thank everybody for the hard work, we will be, you'll be surprised at the meeting, so, hopefully we'll have that meeting on the 8th, and, good things happening in that.
I do want to mention one thing. We went to the Small City Summit, and I want to make sure that the chief understands me with this. I don't agree with some of what these municipalities are thinking. And I did not appreciate being, it was almost as if that was.
Sheriff's office stuff.
No, it was almost as if the Small City Summit from the Municipal Association, they had businesses there,
Yes.
It was almost like I was in one of those, do you want my timeshare?
Yes.
Conversations. I didn't like that. Yeah, there were vendors there, and I didn't like it. One of the things I want to mention, and go on public record saying that I did not appreciate the way that the Municipal Association entertained Section 218. Because what that really meant is there's a lot of ways that municipalities can get their law enforcement. Central Pacolet can pay Pacolet for law enforcement coverage. It's not just one direction where you can drop your police department and just pay the sheriff's department. But that's the way it made it out to sound, and I didn't appreciate it. And I want you to know that. And I want you to know that you should never think of that. And don't ever ask me more questions about it.
No, I agree.
You asked a question and his ears got red.
I'm okay with someone who is in the business, gives their opinion, ideas about what they should do, but
Yeah.
not be there to promote their business.
Yeah, I want to say that in those unique circumstances that those individuals had, that's wonderful. But I don't think that's something that should be pushed upon municipalities that have more than 400 people in their town. It was a little bit too much.
I really worry that there will be a lot of people in that room that take that to heart and feel like that's the direction the MAC is recommending their community.
That was, and I explained that to Naomi, and I made a couple other calls too, that I thought that was, when you put people in that position, to where you've got other people saying, this is what we did, it worked out great, and the people that are listening are brand new council members, and they don't have experience in this, and that will change the trajectory of their town in a lot of different ways. So they should be very careful moving forward with that.
Anything else? Sorry. That's okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, second. All in favor?